Skipping.
Hey, man. Just trying to get in touch with you. Not really sure what we're going to do. I'd like to go see the movie Passengers. Catch up with you about that. No, I got this. You know, this whole message thing that you're forcing me to do right now, man, what am I supposed to do? Just make stuff up? Jesus. I never signed up for this, man. You're just supposed to pick up the phone. You were supposed to answer so that we can come up with what I was to say right here, man. Anyways, call me back. Do not use this message.
End of message.
Sci-Fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi.
Hey, welcome to Busy Daddies Do Sci-Fi. I'm George.
Good evening. I'm Kevin.
And
good morning.
We're busy daddies, and we do sci-fi.
Happy commute, listeners.
More than likely,
listeners,
or trip to the church, grocery store, pick the kids up from school, wherever it is that Americans, British people, whoever's listening to this podcast. We have a few listeners actually in the UK. You can track those statistics.
We do.
Yeah, we do. We have a few Australians.
Is
and
it
we
the
have
Stephen
a few...
S. Hawking?
It is.
I think S. Hawking? Is that him?
I don't think he can help but listen to podcasts. Like they're
About
just sort of pumped in.
You can add him to the listener. Let's recap.
We can. No.
All those
he's dangerous, man.
He's dangerous.
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking.
I believe he's capable of full-on teleportation right now.
Yeah.
I'm saying did you ever hear the story about when he was on the set of Next Generation? Of course you haven't. You don't care about Star Trek.
No, this would be way deeper than I've ever gone.
He was rolling past the warp core set in main engineering, and he turned to Patrick Stewart and smiled and said, "I'm working on that." It's pretty funny. Probably not that. I'm working on Dr. Hawking.
Over the years,
Dr. Hawking, I'm
George and I have made some enemies, and if you're just joining us now,
Patrick,
there's some folks who usually take it out on George's property.
Jennifer Fang,
the
ghost of Tarkovsky.
The ghost of Tarkovsky, Patrick Rothfuss. Vicious rumors about him being in rehab. Patrick,
totally unfounded. We didn't know what we were talking about.
It's okay, Patrick. You can find support.
Email from his agent,
which we thought we'd parlay into a interview.
Any good publicity, I figured. But apparently, he doesn't want to talk about being in fictional rehab.
Yeah. And then your Russian buddy,
my Russian buddy, keep my car. Yeah.
I want to reiterate what an animal that guy is.
He's a beast. What are you gonna do? Self-will.
Run riot.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, of course, I do the stupid thing, and I make fun of the most powerful man in the universe, Stephen Hawking. Did you see The Theory of Everything?
No.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
I couldn't
good movie
come up
about
with anything quickly. I was like, he's handing me a joke right now.
Good biopic on Stephen Hawking.
Oh, that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I want to see a Stephen Hawking who can run around.
Oh my God. His name is Kevin Stack, and he lives in Highland Park.
Is not.
Stephen Hawking that can run around? You said that with such disdain, like he's useless when he's in that form.
It was like, no.
He's some sort of superhero who can only be useful when he's not.
Did I tell you I have a gift?
You have several.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen the trailer for that movie, and I remember it being such a joyful romp of youth, that I can't imagine watching
Well,
that horrible love story.
You misread it because after
Does that count as the one? We have to say Reddit 5 times each episode.
That's good. You caught that.
Cool.
Misread it. It's twice, but
3 times.
Once he's actually fully in the wheelchair and can't really move much, it does get a little boring. I got to admit, it does. I mean, it's just great acting though by that guy who's in it. He's in
George,
Fantastic Beasts now.
You
Kevin,
I don't know what sort of wormhole you've opened.
Have you ever been a passenger on anything?
Maybe a freighter?
Oh,
Yes, I just flew.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh. Did how long did your flight take?
5 hours and 15 minutes.
Wow,
There was
wow,
a headwind, 125 mile an hour headwind.
That's
jet stream.
That's
this
a
time of
far
year.
cry from 120 years. Which is how long the trip in the comical romantic romp starring Jennifer Lawrence.
That's a rom-com.
Rom-com. Sci-fi rom-com. An SVRC. SFRC. Starring Chris Pratt and America's Darling Jennifer Lawrence.
How do you even know these epithets about people?
She's the it girl, or at least she was
she
was like 2 years ago. She's not so much anymore.
She
was the Silver Linings Playbook girl. Like she was like the oh my gosh, I'm so annoyingly relatable. Like the girl who would like do interviews and say like every day is cheat day for me or something like that or play off the whole.
What are you doing?
I'm a sponge,
what are you
man.
Doing? Watching. What's that show? Good Morning America?
Oh, God,
Oprah?
no.
How do you know this?
I just absorb things. You just kind of take things
But that's
in
what
when
I
you
mean.
care
Absorb
enough.
them from where?
I mean, I either see articles on Reddit or on like,
4.
and that's an actual one too. Like that's what we actually are talking about Reddit, not saying misreddit.
5.
Nice,
6.
we're rolling in the
Bonus.
money.
Vic, are you counting?
There you
this?
go.
Please talk to them.
I don't know. I mean, you just kind of know. I don't know how
No.
I pick these things up.
No.
You just sort of know these
No.
things.
See, I've got a shield against
You know what
such
your
information.
problem
You know
is?
what it's
Your
called?
problem-
Reading books, George.
See, your problem is you're constantly writing music and reading books.
I don't write music, George.
I bet you do.
I
I
do
bet
not.
you're all sorts of creative and productive.
No.
And
No.
just like
I'm a busy daddy. I have
play
a
it
6-year-old.
off. Like I have
get
a
up at 6,
4-year-old and a
a
2-month-old. That's 4-month-old.
I know.
So
and you're sitting there.
I better damn well know a thing or two about Jennifer Lawrence, or I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
Actually, that's right. You need that's street cred on the parks for you with the other women.
Hey,
Speaking of misogyny,
why are we?
Speaking of misogyny,
Why do we got to bring the other women into this? Right?
because you're out there with them.
Speaking of misogyny,
Speaking-
Passengers.
Passengers. The new movie by.
I don't know.
Oh, I thought this was. Oh no, that's the other one.
No,
Yeah,
no, it's not Luc Besson. Is that what you were thinking?
Yes,
of?
because of what Luc Besson.
Luc
Who
Besson.
will be making Valerian?
Valerian, man.
But we don't need to go there right now.
No, we'll get there eventually.
Passengers. What were my prediction about Passengers? That Jennifer Lawrence would be an android, and yours was.
Mine was that Jennifer Lawrence was some type of. I didn't necessarily know android, but I thought maybe some type of device created by this ship so that Chris Pratt would not go crazy, because I thought maybe he was awoken for a purpose by the ship and she's like a companion. Like give him someone so he doesn't lose his mind. You know?
Right.
Which is very quickly negated by the simple premise of the movie.
Yeah.
You know?
So we're gonna spoil this for you.
Yeah. Chris Pratt is his name is Jim Parsons or Jim Perkins, some normal
Parsons.
name. He is a mechanic who is taking a 120-year jaunt to one of the colonized planets called Homestead 2. And there's an accident. He gets woken up 90 years before he is supposed to. And what are you going to do? There doesn't seem to be much to do. You can play basketball. You can play Dance Dance Revolution. Have some food. And go swimming. On this ship, pretty much.
And he's the lowest paying passenger.
That's
so
clever, yeah.
He is barred from all these wonderful choices on the digital breakfast machine.
Only black coffee.
He gets black coffee and like an oatmeal square.
Yeah, that was clever.
Which was cool. For your life, that would be like that. So he's unable to access the quarters where the crew and navigators are hibernating, and so is drifting off into this journey. The ship is on course.
Before we get a little deeper into this, I do want to say that I thought this movie was entertaining. It was. I'm one of the notes I actually said passable. And I don't think I'd stray too far from that. It was a passable movie in that I don't regret having seen it. I don't regret spending money to have seen it.
Not at all.
I was entertained.
Yeah.
Looked great. Looked really slick. There were things
tech
about
was
it.
Totally cool.
Totally cool. There's things about it, like when he's waking up from and the little holographic woman pops up and gives him the little primer about what he's supposed to do. Stuff that I felt like, yeah, this seems natural. This might actually work if we were in this situation. There's a robotic bartender played by Michael Sheen, who I think is probably one of the best characters in the movie. I mean, there's only 3-4 characters in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is a robotic bartender played by Michael Sheen. And he's great. And then we're introduced to Aurora Lane, who is Jennifer Lawrence's character.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a robot. She's a real person. And, boy.
Yeah.
Let's
get right to it here.
Get right to it.
So, you're on a ship, and you've been alone for a year. And he goes through the stages of man. It's great, and he grows a beard, and he's drunk, and he takes a spacewalk, and he wants to kill himself. He slips on a bottle, sees her in her sleeping chamber, and fixates on her.
Yeah.
Studies her name, reads everything she's written because she's a writer, and debates with the android bartender whether to wake her up or not, and does. Which, while we watched this movie, I realized was an act of murder.
He is a
murderer.
He's a murderer
He
now.
decides to kill her so he can have her. Yes, he makes the sex with her. And it's groovy as long as you can keep that little secret under your hat.
Yeah, it is. It takes you for probably a quarter of the movie right out of everything that's happening on screen, because it's all this oh shucks, I'm cute wooing, and the whole time you're like, this wasn't an accident, dude. You were full on. You killed this woman. She's going to die
on that ship
with the man who has decided your future, your happiness, your worth is at my disposal.
There's a religious cult who has women like that in a basement breeding with their own sons right now.
I think Chris Pratt is in that cult, actually.
Yes?
Yes.
God, that's scary shit.
Right, man. And so we're supposed to get it. Now, this was one of what I think this movie, I had written missed opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a gift just like Kevin does.
Mm-hmm.
I am capable of watching a movie and rewriting it so it's better.
You make wonderful edits, too.
Wonderful edits.
Tarkovsky's Ghost does not think so, but we're getting a chance with him. Listener, we will be doing Stalker.
I'll tell you what.
That's coming up. Tarkovsky's other sci-fi.
I have cut the Russian Solaris down to a slick 22 minutes. And it's brilliant.
Yes.
But and it's got a laugh track too, so it's fantastic. But so I'm thinking, I'm watching it. I'm like, he's got this robot. What if they had added something about this robot who is trying to gather something more from this relationship? He's trying to be friends with this guy, and he misunderstands, and the robot takes it upon himself to wake her up. it would have negated the entire creepy factor.
Total creepy
'Cause
factor.
now
Like,
they're-
like their date night. Like, oh yes, it was a great 17 books
Yeah.
you wrote that I read
Yeah,
before I
read
woke
them-
you up.
I read them all.
Yeah, I
or
love
she'll
that.
say stuff. She'll say stuff like well, yeah, my father died when I was 17. He died at his keyboard, and he's got this look on his face like, oh yeah, that's terrible and new. But it's kind of like in the back of my head, and well, Kevin in my ear is also going, yeah, I know that when I Googled you and read everything that I could about your life, which it's a weird amount of information that's available to him.
There's a point when, yeah,
he's watching interviews of her, and I'm
she's
like,
being interviewed.
is she being interviewed for fucking Dancing with the Stars?
And this is when you start to get, that is when we start to get into you've got some things you can work with here, Hollywood.
Right.
That's we'll just call that the metaphor for these boardrooms that I imagine. I don't really know how they make movies,
I don't
people,
know, yeah.
but I always imagine people in a boardroom, and I don't know why they get it so giggly and just the interviews themselves. But she mentions that something about bliss would be a hot cup of coffee and a view of the Chrysler.
If I get it, yeah.
And so Creeper
I can write with-
makes her a fucking sculpture of the Chrysler building and brings a fucking cup of coffie to her like, oh, you're reading my heart.
How?
Panty dropper.
How
You
did
know,
you-
it's like,
Like,
oh.
I mean, it's like, wait a minute. Did you watch my fucking
you know my
interviews?
soul. You're my soulmate.
Did you watch my
Oh.
interviews? What before like I was accidentally woken up? Because that's really weird that you
know.
decided to watch my video interviews before. So this goes on for a little bit, and then Homeboy blows it.
Android.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it was a misunderstanding on his part or he has some moral coding, because he just straight up says Jim was looking forward to you awakening, and she goes, how can
but
he be
there's
looking
the
forward?
precursor to that. There's the
Yeah.
precursor where she says we have no secrets from each other, and he looks at Jim and goes, "Is that true?"
Yeah.
And Jim says, "Yes, it is." So he
He thinks he's
told her. Yes.
Ah, and then so he
then
goes, well, he looks so forward to, and it's a total deal breaker. And they go on ice, and they hate each other,
But you know what?
and freak out.
That part is fantastic. Her reaction, I thought, was great. I thought that, like, because there's no, like, I loved you, I trusted you. She loses her mind. Like, they show her out the window of the spaceship just yelling to nobody. You know, she wakes him up in the middle of the night and just starts beating the shit out of him and almost kills him.
And that was where we start to do missed opportunities. 'Cause
Yeah.
like the George's Android idea, where at an attempt of a singularity or a sentimentality that this AI might have, it awakens her, which is not what happened. We both wondered, what if she kills him?
Yeah.
And then her journey is figuring out how to either get back to sleep or fix the problem that they're in.
Yeah.
Which would be, I mean, because of the context of these movies, which is generation sips, where people are in deep hypersleep, I was very able to imagine reading these, because they are like some of the books that I put my nose to and spent 700 to 1,000 pages with. So those spaces were familiar, and it was totally real that you might lose that guy, and they would have their own adventure.
Yeah. Well, I was digging what he was becoming, because it was all of a sudden, it went from like this loving couple together to she's now forced to share a space with like a criminal, a man who has murdered her. Her own words later on are, "That's murder," and this is quickly wiped away in the face of like new crisis. There's new crisis. There have been lingering things going on with the ship. Glitches. They all seem to be kind of just like, well, that's kind of weird that that's happening. And
Like, you really wouldn't know, though. If you were a passenger on the ship, you'd be like, I don't know if every once in a while that does glitch. Until the
lights
frequency
flicker
goes
and
enough.
stuff. And then, and thank God Lawrence Fishburne shows up.
Yeah. Who is a
It was
upperclassman. He's a navigator.
He's a crew chief,
chief.
deck chief.
Deck
But
chief.
It is it is kind of nice.
So he has higher clearance, folks. This is important.
Right.
because the other two characters have not been able to access many things that might help them get back to sleep.
But he was a breath of fresh air when I think like this movie needed another voice, and it's in a kind of comical way too. He's like, who planted a tree on my ship? Because in a romantic gesture, Chris Pratt plants a tree from the arboretum in the middle of the concourse, probably depriving this future planet of the oxygen necessary and killing more people.
This selfish, creepy murderer is like, we're already screwed, so the poor horticulturalist who is going to wake up in 90 years, he cuts down the dude's roses. The last apple tree on Earth is now planted in the middle of a ship. Like, he's using all their
Jim
torches. Parsons is a total scumbag.
Using all their torches to try and break into the crew chief. He's probably like, they're going to get there and open their boxes and be like, well, we'd love to build the homes, but all the torches are empty. So I guess we'll just have to deal with the harsh winter. And but that's, it's all fun and games to kind of peck apart some of the smaller foibles of this movie and to kind of ignore what the overall picture of it was. And that's kind of where we're left with like this lingering question of how is it that these movies are continually made, and is that a problem?
And more importantly, why do we think we know better? Why do we think we know a better movie?
Right.
And is that, listeners, you can let us know, bddsci-fi@gmail.com.
Right. So drop us a line, man, and let us know, like, are we on the right track, or, like, because I kind of pigeonhole these whole things as, like, what I consider to be emotionally satisfying, and I think I have an idea of what that is, but it is constantly challenged in a good way. It's constantly challenged, and sometimes things that I would easily write off, I watch or read, and I'm like, that was great, man. I would not have expected that a movie starring Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner about an alien language would make me feel like weepy.
I could, because it was released late enough in the year to be in the Oscars race.
There we go. Yeah,
baby. Right. That boardroom, that Hollywood and quotes thing.
That boardroom works, man. They work or they don't.
So these people are smart in that way. So why aren't they so smart here?
Well, the cynical part of me goes. We got Chris Pratt and we got Jennifer Lawrence. We need to get a movie out. When do we get one out? We get one out around Christmas. It'll make just enough money.
When you start talking these things, I wonder what's the origin of that idea, because that's my Hollywood boardroom guys. I don't believe it's that cynical.
I think it is.
How do we know?
Because
it's not for the people who wrote this movie.
There's a formula to some of these movies where all they have to do is
why not
make
kill him anyways?
Just enough money.
Why not kill him anyways then?
But
why not let one of them? Why not kill Chris Pratt and let her have a adventure?
But why? Then
I'm already in the movie.
Yeah, but
do I need to watch?
Why?
Why are they wasting perfectly good makeout time?
That's like saying why do bad movies exist? Like they exist because they do. They exist because.
But it's not like bad. That's the kind of fascinating thing.
Yeah.
It's entertainment. Maybe that's just it. But
is
there a higher standard, or are George and I total pricks?
Well, we've had, this conversation about, like, okay, well, the end of the movie, they solved the problem, the problem with the ship, and he says to her, look, I figured out a way that we can put you back to sleep. And I thought that was going to be a really great way to end this movie.
Yeah.
And they
get through a crisis together. They have to work together again. Fishburne dies off. The flaw in he's awoken early enough to be really sickened by the hypersleep,
coughing blood into his hand. And going, I should just
but they get on the case of solving the crisis in the ship. There's been a breach from a meteoroid, and they solve it and fix it. And having access to Lawrence Fishburne's character's tier of security, they have a way to put Amy, to whatever her name is, back to sleep.
Jennifer Lawrence. They could
Which could have been a great
Aurora Lane.
ending.
Could have been a great ending because I'm envisioning she goes back to sleep. She gets to live her life, write her book. She's a writer. She's going to write be the first journalist to go to a colonized planet and come back. And he gets to live the life of like the caretaker of this ship. And I kind of saw like him walking off onto the concourse very stoically, and that's where the movie ends.
Well, and also he
being,
gets to live with the little
possibility.
dream state. He gets to live the other fork in the road, which is he never wakes her up, but he gets a takeaway. He gets his just due, right? In the solve of the crisis of the ship, there's another opportunity where he has to go outside of the ship to open up a door to take the heat off the fusion reactor.
Yeah, which is
and he has to do this in very close proximity to it. And there's heat blasting on him, and somehow this recreational jumpsuit that usually tourists would be using survives this blast. His tow cable breaks. He spins off into space. She goes out and rescues him, and once again we are back in the we're together again.
It is comically unrealistic in a movie that is about fucking people in space. Like it is whatever.
Who cares? At this
away.
point, we know once when she goes out there, we're like, oh yeah, you're
he's gonna fucking save her.
And so again, he's alive.
Listen, Brazil, the movie Brazil. Okay, you know the difference in the cuts, the theatrical version versus which ends with them
George,
happily.
do you see my face glazing over right now,
Terry
listener?
Gilliam, are you
the difference in the cuts?
The
do you mean like
versus...
Blade Runner director's cut, that
Yes.
kind of thing?
The theatrical version.
No.
You know how Brazil ends?
I don't remember.
Okay. Movie Brazil ends with him in this, beautiful, he's with the woman he loves, and they're in this little cottage in the mountains, and then it pulls out, it goes into his eye and comes back out, and he's just in that torture room with the two doctors, and it's all happening in his head.
Yeah.
Okay? In the theatrical version, they don't show that last scene. And it just ends with him and the woman he loves in the cottage in the mountains. And it's a beautiful, happy ending.
Right.
Sometimes studios feel like, gotta give you that beautiful, happy ending, otherwise people are not gonna pay to see a fucking movie. And I know that's cynical, and I'm thinking like cigar-munching producer, but I truly believe those are still the people who are mostly in charge of making the money decisions in Hollywood. Are old, misogynistic white men.
Oh, by the way, yes. Speaking of misogyny,
Oh, God.
Fishburne comes out, and he has to look at the hibernation chambers, and he goes, well, clearly Jim Parsons broke. Mine broke, but yours here has been tampered with.
Jennifer
Does
Lawrence
she know
almost makes like
that
a plea.
Does Jennifer, does he know? Does Jennifer Lawrence know that yours was tampered with?
Oh, yeah, she knows.
And what's his name? Chris Pratt says, yes, she knows. And later in the movie, she says, do you know?
I'm in hot water, man.
He's a murderer. He's a murderer. And Fishburne goes, the drowning man.
Hey, man.
The drowning man takes someone down with him, too. And this man's drowning, so you buck up, girl, and you be lucky. And I just kind of was like, yes, swallow that shit.
You listen to me, honey.
We got bigger and better problems now, and we need you.
Which brings us... He is a man, and he needs a woman.
Yeah. So he could have been murdered by her in her lived adventure. He could have been blown off the ship doing what's right. Mind you, we saved 5,000 people when we fix this problem. Mm-hmm. There are 5,000 people going to this colony.
Which brings us to a
and then
level.
He could have put her to sleep and lived it out, but no.
No. They end up swimming in a pool together at the end of the movie, saying, what a life we've got. And they 90 years later, the rest of the passengers and crew wake up, and they find...
They've destroyed the ship?
They have fucking...
They've grown a forest!
They've grown a fucking
and property
forest.
that's not there. They're both scumbags.
There are animals everywhere.
The robots are harvesting vegetables.
Robots are doing, like, CSA produce deliveries in wooden crates. and
Yeah.
and fucking everything.
And they go into some pappy thing like, if you're listening to this, you know we've made a life.
It is a really that
Or
that
something.
last narration is terrible though.
Horrible.
Like, it's horrible.
Horrible. But
Here's the deeper level.
here's the deeper level. This is what makes us say, listeners, that
He-
this is the best movie of 2017 that we've seen so far.
Jim.
It is
That's pretty
January
good.
2nd.
It's January. Jim Parsons.
It's the only movie I've seen in 2017.
He needed her. He needed,
needed
her.
her.
Not only because the surface stuff. Okay, he's about to push the button and shoot himself into an airlock and kill himself. He needed her for that. The movie, the whole journey, culminates in him doing something that he cannot do by himself that saves 5,000 lives.
Yes.
So he needed her.
So in his flaws,
In his defects,
he commits the act of murder,
right?
but as a team, they are able to save 5,000 people. If he did not wake her up, Fishburne's character would have woken up and would have become so sick, as far as the continuity of the movie is concerned, that he would have died before this two-person operation to vent this fusion reactor would have happened.
I mean, he would have died before he walked down the
He
fucking
would.
hallway.
He was in
He
bad
was-
shape,
he was
like from the beginning.
coughing
He's like,
up blood
I
from-
coughed up a little blood. Maybe I'll take a nap.
I'm gonna go take a nap.
Is it hot in here to anyone else? Oh,
I love that for whatever reason, like she's when the gravity goes off, she's in the pool and she gets caught in the water. Chris Pratt is in bed and he floats away. Lawrence Fishburne's arms just float up a little bit.
He's-
It's like,
he's
he was like, I am
strapped
not
into
moving.
a dead man's sheet. I think he was strapped in.
Was
He was recuperating.
All right,
But,
I'll buy that.
So that
So he commits his acts. These are his crimes. These are his defects. There's salvation through what he does, and there's amends. This is what I did. This is what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to put you back to sleep, and I'm willing to be alone on this ship. And she says no. You know, that's not bad. Could things have been handled a little differently and done a little better?
stand by, listener. The George edit will be out by March.
In the George. Oh, what did I miss with the robot face? Did something happen to the robot's face?
Oh, he like glitched and like started smashing glasses and banging his head against the counter and.
I mean, I went to take a leak and I can't. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have I would have liked to have seen him not be a murderer. I guess.
But we've established it couldn't.
I know, but it still is a little.
It was just tough because, you know, they could have played murder. He could have been a little more sociopathic. But
Well, they could have played that up more, and it would have been more interesting.
like almost
and had
like
some real redemption later.
creepy.
Or
But instead, it
something.
was just like
You know.
he loves her.
Yeah.
He
But I mean,
killed
I
her.
almost picture like him going back to the bar. Like, had he put her to sleep, like back to the bar, like 2 years later, and being like, "Oh, Art, yes, man, yes, what is it, Jim? You know, I did it again. Oh boy,
Woke her up.
woke another one up. Who's it?
Well,
this
that was-
time?" You know, like,
Yeah.
I did it again. Like every year, he just comes back and he just like can't. I don't know why I can't go 9 months now without waking another girl
Mhm.
up
Yeah.
and throwing her out the airlock.
Yeah.
Just bodies. Just,
Because you keep telling them, you asshole.
You keep fucking
there
telling
are
them.
secrets between me and these women
Hey,
I'm awakening.
Hey, do me a favor, okay? When you ask me if there are no secrets, and I look at you and I say, "Yeah, that's what she said," and then I wink, maybe you pick up on that,
Yeah.
you robot dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do? Robots, they can only do so much.
Until the singularity.
Till the singularity.
We haven't been there in a while.
We haven't had reason to.
That was a little.
We
That
have-
was back in our heady phase. We were real heady there in the beginning, man.
Yeah, we got deep. Man.
We got deep. Now,
What are we doing?
just a couple
here?
of clowns,
Couple
man.
of clowns
Drinking seltzer,
drinking seltzer and
eating ice cream.
letting Vic pull our puppet strings
Mhm.
so we can just dance for him. You know, he's part of that problem, part of that studio system.
I think he is.
He's in one of
We're
those
the
cigar munching, money bag douchebags who's saying, "Give me Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence in a sexy bathing suit." You know,
Yeah.
crank it out before Christmas, you losers.
And that, oh yeah, there was just some parts that just, I mean, entertainment.
What are you gonna do, man? You know, like they
What are you
can't,
gonna do? We're gonna write a better movie
right?
someday.
Or at least we're gonna watch a better one.
We are. Listener, get prepared. We're gonna watch Stalker by Tarkovsky. Get that under your belt. As George has experienced, they usually are longer flicks.
I'm gonna only
And you have to hunt that one down.
watch the first 10 minutes of it. I'm saying
And then
that's
use
all.
your gift for
I
the
think
rest
that's
of
all
it.
I need.
You're going to be sucked in. George is going to love those long shots of
I'm gonna turn
leaves floating in clear pools of water.
I'm gonna turn to the last page. Read that.
Yeah. Pulling an Adam.
Pulling an
We might
Adam.
bring Adam in for that Stalker episode, folks. So, once
forward
again,
to that.
thanks for being with us.
Thanks a lot.
bddsci-fi@gmail.com.
Yeah, or drop us a follow on Instagram. We're at BDD Sci-Fi on Instagram. Of course, you can find more about us at the website bddsci-fi.com.
You can Google all the books we've read and find out what
Definitely.
building we'd like to be looking at when we drink a cup of coffee in our eternal earthly bliss.
What building would you like to be looking at while you're writing?
I don't know.
I think Chrysler Building's a pretty good one. I want
That's Pap,
I
sir.
hope it's-
Wait, hackneyed.
that would be hackneyed. Yeah,
Is that hackneyed?
I think so. Saying the Chrysler Building is the building you want to look at
Yeah.
is like
Great.
Really?
Like, do I really? Yeah.
I don't believe you're a good writer because you said that.
I don't believe you're a real character because
Right,
you said that.
exactly.
I don't believe a good writer would write that.
Yeah. Well, they
That's
did.
hackneyed.
That's hackneyed.
They
Yeah.
did?
No.
Well,
That's what I
someone
mean.
did.
They didn't write. A good writer didn't write that.
I would just, yes.
All I need is
The
a
baby,
cup of coffee.
well,
All I need is a cup of coffee in the Chrysler Building. You know. I think somebody wrote that line with Jennifer Lawrence in mind because I feel like that's I could see Jennifer Lawrence writing that. Mm-hmm. But this is what I mean. I don't want to get super cynical about like the studio system, and,
especially since we're speaking about
everything.
things we have no real idea about.
No, not really. Well, I've seen some documentaries.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
All right. We're out of here.
Good night, nurse.
Good night, nurse.